Since the NHS was created in 1948, we've come a long way, haven't we? Healthcare has in many ways changed beyond all recognition. Children no longer languish in iron lungs or die from diphtheria. Safe and effective vaccination programmes have seen to that. Joint replacements can now alleviate what were once crippling conditions, and keyhole techniques have transformed previously invasive surgery, such as cholecystectomy. The old TB hospitals have closed. New effective treatments have thankfully rendered them obsolete, just as new drugs have transformed the management of conditions such as peptic ulceration, epilepsy and rheumatoid arthritis. And better, safer contraception has of course transformed the lives of countless people, as have nationwide screening programmes for different types of cancer. But despite all these remarkable advances, two things haven't changed. The delivery of healthcare within the NHS is still about providing our patients with the best possible care from cradle to grave. And for all those involved in this delivery, they are still striving day after day to improve that service. Today our DNA is sequenced, our organs are transplanted and our brains are imaged. But all those advances that have transformed the NHS since 1948 have only been possible because of research, the process of discovery, innovation and development. Research is about asking questions, gathering robust evidence and drawing conclusions from that evidence that allow us to answer those questions as reliably as possible. When those questions are about healthcare, and when the process of gathering that evidence involves working with people, whether they be patients or healthy volunteers, that process is called clinical research. Without clinical research, we have no new drugs, no new treatments, nothing better to offer our patients tomorrow than what we have today. But how does it all happen? By the time any new treatment is tested in the NHS, it will have undergone months or even years of careful evaluation in a whole series of studies. Only those new treatments that make the grade in terms of safety and effectiveness will ever be considered for inclusion in NHS research studies. Sometimes clinical research will involve asking a patient to take a new drug or to undergo an experimental procedure. Sometimes it might be as simple as asking a patient to complete a questionnaire or to provide a sample. Whatever the case, all these studies need to be as scientifically rigorous as possible and of the highest quality. We can't afford to get it wrong. The stakes are simply too high. And everyone involved in clinical research must fully understand the process. For patients and their families, this will mean giving fully informed consent to take part in the studies. For all healthcare professionals and support staff in the NHS, it will mean understanding their role, however large or small, in the process. Modern clinical research is built on three foundation stones: safety, quality and respect. We must all do everything we can to ensure the safety of all those involved. We must work hard to ensure the quality of the research, and we must never forget that clinical research involves people, people with rights and dignity. Now, it's easy to think that research is something the scientists do, something that happens in laboratories. In short, something that is the business of other people. We in the NHS might adapt the findings of such research to improve our service, but we often see it as someone else's job to gather the data and produce the results in the first place. While we get on with being doctors or nurses or any of the other many healthcare professionals and support staff that make up the NHS. But the reality is quite different. Some people are indeed trained specifically in the conduct of clinical research, and some work full-time in research roles. But they are certainly not the only ones in the NHS who must understand the importance of clinical research. This is everybody's business. Take a moment to think. Whatever your role in the NHS, how might you be involved in clinical research? Remember, research may not be your job, but it is your business. Look at the options and click on all those that you think are relevant to you. Modern clinical research is built on three foundation stones: safety, quality and respect. We must all do everything we can to ensure the safety of all those involved. We must work hard to ensure the quality of the research, And we must never forget that clinical research involves people, people with rights and dignity. Now, it's easy to think that research is something the scientists do, something that happens in laboratories. In short, something that is the business of others. We in the NHS might adapt the findings of such research to improve our service, but we often see it as someone else's job to gather the data and produce the results in the first place, while we get on with being doctors or nurses or any of the many other healthcare professionals and support staff that make up the NHS. But the reality is quite different. Some people are indeed trained specifically in the conduct of clinical research, and some work full-time in research roles, but they are certainly not the only ones in the NHS who must understand the importance of research. This is everybody's business. Take a moment to think, whatever your role in the NHS, how might you be involved in clinical research? Remember, research may not be your job, but it is your business. Look at the options and click on all those that you think are relevant to you. Even if we don't regard ourselves as being actively involved in research, we are all consumers of the fruits of research in our NHS jobs. Every pill that is prescribed, every operation that is performed, every image that is created, every test that is done, all these are built on the findings of past clinical research. It is only through the results of such research that we can ever really know that what we are doing is correct and appropriate for our patients. And that concept is the foundation of what has become known as evidence-based practice. And more than that, even if you think we have no direct role in research, we may find ourselves as the gatekeepers to such studies. How should you respond, for example, when a patient asks about research? Where might we direct those interested in taking part in research? And how might we assist our clinical colleagues in finding the right patients, or help our patients in finding the right studies? Again, take a moment to think. In your role, how might you answer these questions? Unless we remember just how important clinical research has been for the transformation of our NHS since its creation in 1948 into what it is today, and unless we understand just how important it will be for the future of the NHS, we are doing our patients a disservice, and we are failing to take advantage of all that clinical research has to offer. The delivery of high quality healthcare is challenging. It has always been challenging, ever since the creation of the NHS, and it remains so today in the 21st century, albeit for different reasons. Today our expectations and those of our patients are so much higher, and there is always more to do, isn't there? But research is not just about finding new treatments, but sometimes about finding smarter, better, or simply more cost-effective ones. Sometimes it's even about providing the hard evidence to show that a treatment doesn't work, thus saving the NHS time and money. Even to stand still, we continually need the fruits of research to inform what we do in the NHS. To advance and improve our service without research, that's unthinkable. Let's hear now from those in the NHS, patients and professionals.